mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just the
duo
of feathery brethren, weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Wulf and Zach kicking it cooler than
two.
Penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Wulf and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping.
We are going to rip out the hearts of other podcasts. We are going to bite off their eyeballs. We're going to start every segment watching the scene from The Last of the Mohicans where the guy takes a bite out of the other guy's heart. We may not be good, but we're going to be nasty. We're going to reflect the blue-collar nature of this city. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends, a post-game edition, 2:06 in the morning. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, Marissa Dunn behind the scenes, following the Eagles' surprising 32-21 loss to the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football. This was the game when everything went wrong. It was cemented, of course, by the touchdown that was promised the day the Eagles released and waived Casey Tuhill in order to make room for returning Vinny Curry, who was 32 years old at the time. We'll get to that, I'm sure, but there's much more to talk about. Zach, the quest for a perfect season is over. The 72 Dolphins are very happy. I'm sure they were partying this weekend with Marissa down in Miami. How are you? What's going on? We are here. The lights just turned off behind us for the field. You're wearing long underwear. We got a lot to talk about.
Excited for this pod. Big game tonight. I thought that the Eagles' turnover luck ran out, and there was debate internally about how much luck has to do with it, but I wasn't sure what I'm so
tired of people making the excuses for the Colts, like Andrew Luck retired. Like, okay, he retired. There's been a long time since for them to replace him. Like, get over it.
While we're on the subject, right? I did not think I can hold it if that's easier.
No, I would rather you not.
Okay. I did not think that the turnover margin was sustainable. Like we discussed on the show previously,
but luck has nothing to do with it. They preach these things, Zach.
So, and what you saw tonight,
I laugh when people say that this is luck. I laugh about that. We work on this. Yeah. We're the first coaching staff in NFL history to ever, or really football at any level, emphasize turnovers. No one has ever thought to do that before.
So what you saw was inopportune turnovers at inopportune times, and you can get into the specifics of each one, but that was problematic on the offensive side. The defensive side, the run defense is a problem.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were fine tonight.
Getting off the field is a problem. Time of possession, when you look at the disparity of plays run, that's problematic.
Second biggest disparity of time of possession in the league this season.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot to chew on here. I don't think it's one of these games where you have to put the bat signal up and you're worried of something.
Look at you bringing in the Batman references. Look at you, fresh with the refs at 2:09 in the morning.
Of something greater occurring. I think this is a blip on the radar.
Why so serious, Zach?
Well, we're doing a podcast for this is our job.
Now your pop culture has run out. That's another reference for you.
Why so serious? Okay. Over the course of a 17-game season, you're going to have clunkers, right? And tonight was a clunker. Now, if this is compounded in Indianapolis next week, then you start to say, were they a little inflated earlier on? But I think they flushed this out of them. They rebound next week, and you push this aside. But there were things tonight that I was expecting at some point, and in particular, I identified the giveaways there, the turnovers there.
Yeah, I think, I know that there are some people who are livid about this loss, and maybe you're stretching those muscles for the first time this season. You haven't had a chance to yell enough, and so now's the time. The refs we can get to, and I know you talked to some of the refs after the game. You snuck into their locker room, and good reporter that you are. Followed the story, chased it down, sniffed it out. I find it a little bit hard to get worked up about this loss for the Eagles. So many things had to go wrong. They still very easily could have and should have won this game, despite that time of possession disparity, despite the plays disparity. I think there is one main thing that is a real concern, which is the run defense, and we can get to that. But like the fumble on Dallas Goedert when he gets his face mask yanked, like that's a tough break. That's a bad break. You can't really. Well, go ahead. I mean,
no, I'm sorry.
I mean, yeah, he shouldn't fumble, but he also shouldn't like.
Yeah, the play should have been nullified. It should have been nullified. But as I was watching it back, John Ridgway did punch it out. Okay. Now, I don't know if him being yanked had anything to do with it. Nick Sirianni kind of focused on the part they could control afterwards. But yeah, I think the Quez Watkins fumble is the one where you really say this is problematic. Like that cost them. It shouldn't have happened. That was a bad fumble.
But even like problematic, I think is too strong because it's like you just hit a 50-yard play. Like he's trying to get up and keep going. Like, yeah, he should be aware of who's behind him, but that's also bad luck. Like, and that's why it's so like farcical for them to insist that like plus 15 turnover differential. That's just us doing what we preach. Like, everybody else, the next best team is +6, but we're that much better. We're that much better at teaching this stuff than everybody else in the league. Come on. Like this stuff is bound to regress. It was going to happen in a game like this. Division games are weird. I like that Washington team. Credit to them for sticking to their guns, and the Eagles for not adjusting through the first 2.5 quarters of this game. But even the interception that Jalen Hurts threw is like a fine mistake to make. Like it was an error of aggression, as was Quez Watkins's, I think. And
the only problematic things are on defense, right? That's like the Eagles.
You know what? I know that you're going to defend that, but
no,
yes,
I'm not defending
the offense was fine in this game. With the one thing that I would actually really complain about is their play calling of the final possession. Like, what are we doing? Game on the line. 2nd and 8, we're pulling A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith off the field to make sure we get another 13 personnel play in. I'm not so sure I agree with that. But, yeah, the offense moved the ball fine. I thought the offense looked fine tonight. And I thought, like, there were some people complaining about Jalen Hurts in this game. I thought Jalen Hurts was really good.
Yeah, I thought Hurts was fine. I don't just dismiss, the turnovers. Now, I was going to say 4. It's really 3. I will dismiss the last one. The last one doesn't count. But 3 turnovers.
It counts. We want to get into the semantics of what counts, what doesn't.
But 3 turnovers, I can't dismiss that in this. Like, I'm also not going to call this offense, like the greatest show on turf. They scored touchdowns on the first 2 drives, one with the short field. And
because they barely had the ball, Zach.
Well, they could have had the ball more if not for the 3 and outs, but right, it's the defense's fault. No, I mean, there's
if you are going to try to convince me that this game is about the offense turning the ball over and not the defense, then I really strongly disagree.
I think there's blame all around. But I think, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would have a hard time thinking teams that turn the ball over 3 times, 4 times, but 3, for the sake of argument here, has a very good success rate winning games.
Sure, but like there's a different, like those are those turnovers are, one of them is a deep throw, right, to AJ Brown, who looked like he was not 100% and wasn't able to fight for that ball. I think that's a fine throw. You make that throw every time. The Dallas Goedert one we talked about is bad luck, and the Quez Watkins one is bad luck too. I mean, he should make a better play, but those are but this is the difference, Zach. Those are individual mistakes. Right now, you win as a team, you lose as a team, but those are like, they are moving the ball. They are showing that as an offense, they are explosive, but an individual is making a mistake. On defense, the whole unit is getting pushed around and thrown around and like completely incapable of stopping the 28th ranked rushing offense. Yeah. And they're getting embarrassed. And so one is like a bad luck flip of the coin. The other is a structural like flaw that is this team's Achilles heel. I mean, like they're a top 10 unit in passing offense, in rushing offense, in passing defense, and they're a bottom 10 unit in rushing defense.
The rushing defense is a concern right now, and it's even more pronounced when you look at what's ahead. Jonathan Taylor's ahead next week, and Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon thereafter, and Derrick Henry after that, and Saquon Barkley in there. The rushing defense is a concern. And when you don't have Jordan Davis is a very important piece to this, but you need to find ways to compensate. And they didn't find ways to compensate. And I would say more of a concern is the third down defense. You got to get off the field on third down. Now, a lot of it had to do with the way they, it's what coaches say, the way you play on first and second down. And that had to do with the run defense. There were too many third and shorts, right? But then there were also third and long conversions. And the fact that Washington had 21 third down attempts speaks to how often they were on the field and how the Eagles couldn't get them off the field. And the Eagles needed to force more 3-and-outs because their offense was having 3-and-outs. So their defense needed to force 3-and-outs. And they did not do that nearly well enough. So I had a problem with the way the defense played today. The defense did not play nearly well enough, but I'm not even playing devil's advocate with you. I can't excuse 3 turnovers. I can't say, well, this is bad luck. That's bad luck. That's bad luck. You turn the ball over 3 times, you're not going to win games. So that's the bottom line, but because as bad as the defense played, and the defense did not play well. They played poorly tonight. Okay. I'm looking at you, but I'll look at the camera. The defense played poorly tonight. That said,
go ahead, give your butt.
That said, they had 2 takeaways. They had a strip sack that led to a touchdown. They gave the offense a short field and led to a touchdown.
100%
and
true.
They had an interception that took points off the board. Okay. And I thought for the most part, after the offense's turnovers, the defense did a decent job responding. I'll give Joey Slye credit. He made some tough kicks there that factored into things. But what really hurt the defense tonight, especially,
I believe Joey Slye had a high school teacher named Mr. Torres, who once nicknamed him the Sly Guy.
I remember him when he was at Montec. What killed you tonight was 13 play, 75-yard touchdown drive.
This is 5 drives in a row. 5 drives in a row. Washington goes 13 plays for 75 yards and a touchdown, 12 plays for 49 yards and a field goal, 16 plays for 86 yards and a touchdown, 8 plays for 30 yards and a field goal at the end of the half, 14 plays for 71 yards and a field goal. And the problem with that, Zach, is that is the game plan that Jonathan Gannon entered this game with. That's what he wanted them to do. And they took it and ran with it and kept the Eagles' explosive offense off the field. That was their game plan. And the Eagles were not able to stop them. They were not able to address.
Explosive offense, the one that 4 plays, 20 yards interception, 3 plays, 5 yards punt, 3 plays, 7 yards punt. You
Yes.
come out of the half.
Yes.
Jordan
62 yards fumble. Yeah, because they had a 50-yard pass and they fumbled
Jordan
after
Mailata
that.
told me last week, they say the most important drive of the game is the drive coming out to start the second half. 3 plays.
Yeah, that was an awful drive.
Yeah.
I give you that. I'll give you that. That was terrible.
So again, I'm not absolving the defense, but it seems to be a theme with you that don't look over here at the 3-and-outs because you can look over there at the long drives given up. The blame is all around here. Offense.
I don't
defense.
think so.
You don't think so?
I don't. I mean, yeah. The blame goes to Quez Watkins and the blame goes to Dallas Goedert. But they're like, if we're apportioning turkeys for blames for this loss, offense versus defense versus special teams, the defense is getting 75 of my turkeys. All
right. Well, this is where this has nothing to do with Jonathan Gannon. This just has to do with football 101 here, is that the offense gets the ball, so we talked about the start of the second half there. You want to respond. It's a 1 possession game. They go 3-and-out. But then how about let's look at the fourth quarter when they keep getting the ball back and there's a fumble. There's a 3-and-out on a gotta have it drive in the fourth quarter.
Sure.
I mean, explosive I'm not.
You're the third down guy. They had 21 opportunities to make a play, and they made what? 4?
The defense.
Yeah.
They held them the 12 of the 21 on third downs. Now that said, the fourth, Washington converted on the fourth down there too. Look,
and if you're gonna, and if
I'm
you're,
not
and we
letting-
haven't even gotten to the last play of the game. If you're gonna
This is a different
castigate
argument. The
Quez
defense-
Watkins
the defense was a problem.
and Dallas Goedert for their little errors, then you got to go after Brandon Graham the
Yeah.
same way.
Absolutely. The defense was I looked into the camera and I said it. The
Well, just
defense-
because you look into the camera and
defense-
say it and then argue against yourself doesn't
the
make it
defense was
fair.
a problem tonight. I'm just saying you can't let the offense off the hook when you look at these 3 and outs that they had. When you look at 3 and outs in critical times in the game. They sustained one drive the entire game, really. Right? Or no.
Well, that's not true.
No,
I mean,
2 drives. They sustained 2 drives. They sustained 2 drives.
Okay, now are you going to give the defense any blame for the offense like not being able to get into a rhythm because they didn't have the ball the entire first half? Or do you say that that's totally unfair? The offense has to figure itself out.
Well, it helps when you don't go 3 and out to get a rhythm.
What about the first half? They didn't have a chance.
Well, they had 2 3 and outs in the first half, didn't they? Or
No, they had a 3 and touchdown on the first possession.
no,
They had 1 3 and
yeah.
out.
So no, I'm talking about the 4 and out basically with the interception there. So yeah,
which
look,
we already talked about.
yeah, I agree. I'm not letting the defense. The defense played poorly. I am saying, but don't. I'm simply saying, don't let the offense off the hook. You called it this explosive offense. They were not an explosive offense tonight. They were not. Like what suggests they were an explosive
Well, I'm
offense?
talking
tonight?
about like the completion to Quez Watkins is an explosive play that results in a fumble. That's like,
okay, fair. Beyond that,
we're gonna keep talking past each other because we just disagree. Like,
yeah, okay, yeah.
This game is completely on the defense from my vantage point. The offense, they never gave the offense a chance. Now, to be fair, again, the last possession, I thought the Eagles were going to go score a touchdown there.
Of course,
like, well, you did too. Don't give me that. Like, I kept asking you, do you think the Eagles are going to win this game? You said yes.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go score a touchdown there. I was very surprised that they then go 13 personnel on 2nd and 8 and then get sacked on 3rd down. So they deserve blame for sure. I'm not saying that they are blameless, but if we are spreading out the turkeys, I think it is very, very heavy on the defense.
So this is how I'll frame it. What happened with the defense tonight, I think, is more problematic because I think that signals something. That's not an exception. That's not a blip. I think that's not a symptom. Like, I think that's more of a problem as opposed to a symptom. Right.
The offense has blame for like the micro mistakes in this loss.
Yes, exactly.
But
so
the larger concern for sure is the defense. No doubt about it.
Exactly. So that's where I'll say this run defense is a problem, and it also gives opponents a formula for what they're going to try to do to stop them.
I think
by the way,
well, go ahead.
Houston did it last week, and they did it rather effectively, I think, early in the game. I mean, that was a tied game at halftime. Right?
You're the one who said the defense wasn't that bad last week.
No, I said on the aggregate. So the way they played in the second half.
I think the formula thing is like a little bit overstated only because like of course, if they can't stop the run, try to run. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's not like they put some crazy scheme on tape that all of a sudden the league can play copycat league. It's like, yeah, line up and run against this team that doesn't care about stopping the run.
But I think it goes beyond that. It's getting the 3rd and manageable and neutralize their pass rush, right? I mean, the Eagles want to get after you with these edge rushers, okay? They want, I mean, it's not just the edge rushers, it's Javon Hargrave and the interior rushers as well. They want to get you in the known passing situations. Now, that's obvious. A lot of teams want to get you in the known passing situations, right? But a lot of teams don't have the disparity between their passing defense and their running defense as the Eagles do. And when you just look at the way the Eagles are constructed, without Jordan Davis, okay, when Jordan Davis is in there, it's a different conversation. But without Jordan Davis, if you get them into 3rd and 3, into 3rd and 2, then they're a different defense than in third and long situations when they can get after you with their pass rush. And to me, that is a concern because teams are going like Indianapolis saw this tonight. They're going to try to do that. Okay. Tennessee's going to try to do that.
We're going to try to do that anyway.
I'm simply saying there are teams when you're not, there are teams you go against where you say, let's not run against them. Let's test their secondary, or they don't have the pass rushers to get to us. We're going to have time to sit in the pocket. Frankly,
but all I'm saying is that everybody already knew that. They didn't need Washington to play this way to already know that was the way to attack the Eagles defense.
Well, I think what you're seeing is you're seeing evidence. If you're Jeff Saturday, you go to your team. I mean, it sounds.
This is like this. This is in the same bucket as like us complaining about the coaching staff worrying about like giving away too much in a press conference. Like they're watching tape too. Sure. Everybody knows that this is the way to attack this defense.
Sure, but I don't think it's been done to this level of effectiveness.
Well, this has been the 2 games without Jordan Davis. So
precisely, you just made my point.
No, I didn't. My point is that Washington didn't need to other teams didn't need to watch Washington's game tonight to know that this was what to do.
No, but I think
I also think that I'm sorry, Jonathan. It's not just sit back and take it. Jonathan Gannon blitzed once in 21 dropbacks in the first half of this game as Washington's running all over them. This like passivity. It seemed like it was a regression towards what we saw from the defense last season. Now I was also like, this is a Casey Toohill level, Kerry Vincent level minor complaint, but why wasn't Marvin Wilson up for this game? They had an extra defense. They needed him last week because they thought they needed an extra defensive lineman with Jordan Davis out. Maybe they thought he was terrible last week. And, Marlon Tuipulotu took most of the snaps at nose tackle in this game. And then Javon Hargrave played a little bit more in the nose in the second half. But they were on the field for 60 whatever plays, 40 minutes, and they don't want an extra defensive lineman up for this game? I thought that was very weird.
Well, so I actually disagree with you. And
just to keep guys fresh.
So, if you're saying that, and I was about to say you're saying that with the benefit of hindsight, but you said it during the game, so it's not the benefit of hindsight.
I said it immediately.
Going into this game, you just look at the numbers. Washington is a heavy 11 personnel team. Now, they played more 12 personnel today, but they are a heavy 11 personnel team that had Dotson back. The Eagles put Avonte Maddox on injured reserve today. Josiah Scott has been limited in practice this week. Okay, you get that extra body up. You want it now. It doesn't need to be an either or. You can have Goodrich and Marvin Wilson, but
you don't need Goodrich and Reed Blankenship.
Actually, as it turned out, Goodrich did not get into the game tonight. But yeah, I think you want insurance in case Josiah Scott goes down. You want another corner there. You're expecting this to be a pass heavy team. Now that's why? Because that's how they played last time. That's how they played this season.
How about a little self-scouting? How about knowing that what we just talked about, that what Houston put on tape last week is what they're going to try to do?
Now, I hear you there. And the argument against it is that Washington probably thinks their offensive personnel is better than Houston's. I mean, Houston didn't have the wide receivers that Washington had tonight. Terry McLaurin was awesome. We saw that tonight. They were getting Jahan Dotson back. They like to incorporate Curtis Samuel. Scott Turner's been a heavy 11 personnel team. That's like that was their MO going into the game. And by the way, I also think, and I could be wrong here, like I could be way off. I haven't read any of the Washington's quotes, but I imagine that their game plan might have shifted too after that opening drive. After Josh Sweat gets, he gets the Heineke, sacks him on that opening drive, and it was actually after the special teams miscue, but still the opening drive for all intents and purposes.
Even I will admit the special teams was a disaster tonight.
And they might have looked at that and they said, look, we can't do these drops again. Even without Carson, even with someone who theoretically gets rid of the ball quicker, we can't do these deep drops. We need to run the ball more. We need to have tight ends in help. We need to have tight ends in helping with protection. So perhaps they adjusted on the fly. I am not defending Jonathan Gannon here. Okay. I'm simply saying that if you get the data of what Washington was doing, you would have thought that they would play a little bit differently than they did tonight.
I mean, I guess. I still think you would want that extra body at a position where you rotate guys and guys play, as opposed to two worst case scenario. Now, this gets back to special teams. Maybe you think you needed Goodrich and Blankenship for special teams, but Goodrich shouldn't even play on special teams.
Yeah. I think Goodrich was there for depth in the slot because Josiah's been banged up and because Avante's not out there. I hear you there. I mean, I liked Marvin Wilson this summer. I didn't think Marvin Wilson played well.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is not the reason they lost the game, but they were on the field a ton. Tui Pelotu had to play so much in the first half.
Yeah, and look, to me, it's more problematic when the only way you can stop the run is if you have Jordan Davis, right? Like that's.
I agree with you there.
Because the other thing you're doing is you're like tipping your hand when you play, and we've talked about this throughout the season that you need to get Jordan Davis in the passing situations. But yeah, to me, it's not a good sign for Gannon or for this defense that literally one player apparently holds such a sway in terms of what I know there's a drop off there, but you need to figure it out. Okay.
I agree.
Like take the guys you have, figure out how to stop the run. And when teams are running on you as effectively as they are, make the adjustment to stop the run. And if that leaves you susceptible in the passing game, challenge Taylor Heineke to beat you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that said,
blitz him. Come on.
That said, the secondary, which has played well this season, I mean, McLaurin was making plays on
this was Darius Slay's worst game in a long time.
So I look at it and I say that this was all around. Like now, I don't think one person is wearing this loss. Like there's so many things you can point to, but as this is going on, and when you talk about in-game adjustments, and you see them have these lengthy drives, then if I'm Gannon and what I would do is I would say, we need to adjust here. What we need to do is we need to sell out against the run and force Taylor Heineke to try to beat us with his arm. But because we can't keep surviving playing this way.
Well, and I also think that there is a structural conversation of the bend but also break in the red zone defense, which the Eagles have had in this game and all of last season. Like that does have to be a little bit frustrating for the offense. I'm not blaming the offense. I'm not blaming the defense for the offense. But don't you think that, like, when it's 12 plays, 16 plays or whatever, that does have when you are limiting possessions, if you are the better team, you want there to be as many possessions in the game as possible for both teams, right? Because the more possessions there are, the larger the sample size, the better team is going to win out, right? Whereas if you are the worst team, you want to make the game as short as possible. And so when you're the better team, but your defense is playing this philosophical strategy of limiting possessions, it doesn't really mesh well. I think that's why I do think they should be more aggressive on defense, because if you get beat, you have an offense that can score too.
Well, the idea is to get off the field on third downs or to force a mistake. And they were able to force mistakes twice today. They didn't do it enough. But, no, I mean, I keep going back to this. If the offense is complaining they're not on the field enough, don't have 3 and outs, right? 3 and out to end the half. 3 and out to start the half. 3 and out in a money drive in the fourth quarter. 3 plays and a fumble. 6 plays and a fumble. 4 plays and the interception, right? Like, if you want to be on the field, you sustain drives. Washington's not the only team in the world that can sustain drives. This Washington defense they're playing, they're not the 85 Bears, okay? The Eagles are allowed to convert a first down, okay? I'm not with you as much there. What's that? No, I need water, but I don't have water here. 4 plays, interception, 3 and out, 3 and out. Okay? You can't blame the defense for that sequence.
I can blame him in the first half. There was 1 3 and out in the first half.
Okay,
They had the ball 4 possessions.
Yeah, one ended with interception, one ended with a punt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is it the defense's fault that they had an interception? Is it the defense's fault that they had a 3 and out at the end of the half?
I think the defense
is it the defense's fault that they came out of the second half and had a 3 and out?
Yeah, that was a terrible possession.
Okay. I mean, I go back here. So is it so the Eagles force a punt in the fourth quarter, and the offense responds by punting and fumbling. So actually, I can't hold that last fumble against them. But here, even if you take out that last fumble, the defense, it's a 1-score game, and the last 3 meaningful drives are fumble, punt. That's not the defense's fault. Okay. Whereas the defense's last 4 drives, the defense did not give up a touchdown after the second quarter of the game, yeah, they were holding them to field goals. Look, I'm not. You're making
now. Also, like Scott Turner totally turtled up and got extreme. Like they stopped trying to move the ball. It seemed like they were just trying to waste time. But I'll throw that at you.
The defense did not play well, but neither did the offense. And if you want to know why the team did not score points and why the time of possession is what it wasn't just these sustained drives on defense. It was because of the offense's inability to sustain drive. And I know that's not a popular take among you or among Professor Selman or among the commenters. I can't read the comments, but I imagine that's.
Do you think it's telling that you're outnumbered so much?
Do I think it's telling?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of groupthink often.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I think that
you're the one who knows the game.
I'm not suggesting I'm the one who knows the game, but yeah, I do think you need to have courage in your convictions, and I don't think 3 and outs are good. I know you can blame 3 and outs on the defense, but I don't think 3 and outs are good. Bottom line, but don't bill me as like defending the defense tonight. I am not defending the defense. The defense played poorly. The offense played poorly too. As Nick Sirianni said, this was everyone wears this loss. The offense, the defense, the special teams. And I agree with that. Everyone wears this loss
As
tonight.
Nick Sirianni said, luck has nothing to do with it.
As Nick Sirianni said, they played like crap.
Okay.
You create your own luck, and they played like crap. And that is true.
All right, let's just get some of the actual numbers out there before we go to break. Jalen Hurts, 17 of 26 for 175 yards, sacked once, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Miles Sanders, 12 for 54. Hurts had 28 yards rushing on 6 carries. Devontae Smith, they tried to feed him early, but there was not a lot of explosion to those targets. 6 catches on 8 targets for 39 yards. Quez Watkins had 4 for 80. A.J. Brown, as we said, got a little banged up in this game, limped off in the first quarter, came back, but was not much of a factor. 1 catch for 7 yards. Goddard was banged up in this game too, 3 catches for 23 yards. Devontae Smith was also banged up in this game. So was Jason Kelce. So was Josh Sweat. So the Eagles did sort of try to fight through some nagging injuries in this game. All of those guys returned. As you said, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had the interception, which puts him to the top of the league lead with 6. Brian Robinson, the numbers are not super eye-popping. They ran the ball a lot, but they didn't run it for like huge numbers. Brian Robinson, 26 for 86. Antonio Gibson, 14 for 44. That's 3.3 yards a carry and 3.1 yards a carry. Nothing too crazy, but it was effective in keeping the ball away from the Eagles' offense. Taylor Heineke, 17 of 29 for 211, 3 sacks, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. What did you make of the call at the end of the game, Zach? Because you did get a chance to talk to the refs.
Excuse me.
Terry McLaurin, 8 for 128.
So the call at the end of the game, I thought it was a weak call. I did. I thought. Now, I'll explain what the officials saw there. The officials saw.
Explain first the actual pool report process.
Pool report process. You notify every team has a designated pool reporter. Okay,
that's you.
I am the designated pool reporter here. Chris Franco
goes to the most handsome guy on the beat.
Chris Franco of NJ.com is an alternative one. So perhaps in the next situation, he's doing this. You notify the league that
How do you do that? You text Roger?
don't text Roger. No. In this case, I notify the Eagles, who then I call someone from the league. I explain what we want clarification on. In past years, I've gone down to the locker room to speak to the official. I don't know if this is a post-COVID world, but now you talk to them over the phone.
Scared to look you in the face. They know you're a stone cold newsman. You're going to pound them for the truth.
I don't believe it's that.
I do, for the record.
And so
easier to obfuscate.
So you go over you ask a few questions, and then the league handles it from there. And that way, the pool reporter, and this is good that's not is like this. The pool reporter is not at any type of competitive advantage from a reporting element as anyone else. I don't use it before anyone else. I make sure that the material is dispersed, and then I use it if need be, or you use it thereafter. So I asked about 2 plays in question. The end of game play with, I shouldn't say the end of game play. The late fourth quarter play
for all intents and purposes,
when Brandon Graham was charged with the personal foul. And then I also asked about the non-call on the Dallas Goedert face mask. The Brandon Graham play, they said that Taylor Heineke gave himself up. They thought it was clear. And Brandon Graham hit both late and struck him to the head and was charged with a personal foul, essentially for both, right? I think that...
Then you asked for clarification. Was it because it was late, or was it because it was to the head? And he said...
It's one and the same.
I don't really feel like giving you an answer. I'll say both.
He said it's one and the same. So, what do I think there? It's such a bang-bang situation. I don't think Brandon Graham did anything egregious there. The hitting to the head part, I have a hard time with that one because he's on his knee.
Down.
He's on his knee. Yeah. There's no strike zone there, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true. And he's like getting up.
Yeah.
I thought initially that maybe it was helmet to helmet, but it was not. On looking back, it was like his shoulder to his helmet.
Yeah. Hitting him late. Yeah.
I think it's well, go ahead. Say your opinion, and then
I suppose the letter of the law there. Now, you are supposed to touch them down, right? So if he touches him, it's a little different. I mean, is it the way he went in? I'm up in the press box. I don't hear when the whistle is blown. If I can't see the comments, but if the commenters can share, was there a clear whistle?
I don't think there was a whistle. I think
So
it's also from Brandon Graham's perspective. Like, he's rushing. He doesn't see him necessarily on the knee. I think it's an unfortunate call for the game to be decided by that.
Yes.
And you would like there to be some discretion on what's like the importance of the game and like the ticky-tack nature of the call. I do think that it was, by the letter of the law, probably the correct call. And more importantly, Brandon Graham does have to know better.
Yeah. So the Quez Watkins fumble, right? He was on the ground.
The Goddard one. Oh, sorry.
He was on the ground, but he was not touched down. Right? So therefore, he stands up and
he also wasn't giving himself up.
But he was not giving himself up. Heineke was giving himself up.
And that's, I think, really where
the distinction.
And I think that's the important distinction because, like, the way that Heineke does it, like the sort of sneaky way of, like, taking a quick knee in front of you as you're coming at him, is not really by the letter of the law giving yourself up in a way. It's much more like trickery. But, you know, he took advantage of the rules and then celebrated like he won the Super Bowl. So good for him.
It was a big win for them. He's fine. You win, you can celebrate.
He was celebrating, I think, until he got into the locker room and saw the results from the Arizona governorship race.
So the Dallas Goedert play, look, that's unfortunate. And essentially what happened there is the officials didn't see the face mask. How they missed it?
I mean, there's nothing for them to say. Like, we missed it.
The back judge is right there. Now, I agree with Bill Belichick. Every play should be reviewable. Okay?
I don't know. That seems like such a slog. You want games to be longer?
No, but you
get more breaks in play.
You get the same amount of reviews, but you can just use them in that spot. Although it's hard to, it is hard to go back and
I've like over time totally changed my mind on this. Like I younger me was like, get everything right, 100%. Like everything should be reviewable. Now it's like, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes. Let's get the game going. Like enough of the what is a catch, what isn't a catch.
That was an egregious miss, though.
100%, terrible job. And there's a guy standing right there looking right at it. I don't know how you missed that.
Now, that said, and I brought this up at the top of the show, great play by John Ridgway. Like, Davis didn't need to do that.
Hassan Ridgway?
No, John Ridgway.
Hassan.
John Ridgway III, the defensive tackle for the Commanders. He came from behind.
Hassan Ridgway.
He punched that loose. I actually think if there was no face masking, that still would have been a penalty on the play.
A fumble, you mean?
I'm sorry, a fumble on the play. Yes.
Okay.
And look, the Eagles.
Now, Nick Sirianni said on the Quez one that is something that they try to emphasize, that when you're getting up off the ground, it is a situation where the defense is going to try to strip you. And so that is a bad play by Quez.
And Quez said his ball security wasn't good there. He was trying to make a play. His ball security wasn't
Eagle
good.
claw.
Yeah, that's why I led the story with the signs that went up in the facility this week. And all of a sudden, here you go. You lose 2 fumbles, you throw an interception. You really lost 3, but for our conversation, you lost 2 fumbles.
You can really tell, Zach, the juice levels, the numbers, our viewership numbers down. It's a loss. People are not as excited. They don't want to stay up till 2:30 in the morning to talk about a loss.
It probably has more to do with the time.
I don't know. We've had some late night pods with some pretty bombastic numbers.
This is a perk of me getting to do it with you. I don't have access to those live numbers. If I did, I would be obsessed with them throughout the show. Like based on a point, a good point, or a bad point, if someone's leaving, I would be paying attention to all that data.
All right. Well, let's take a little break. We got one ad break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit of big picture. How worried are you about this Eagles team? Some stuff like that. We'll get into Swooper. We'll talk some more long underwear. You know what I love about fall? A hot apple cider. And then you spike it with a little bit of rum. Get those warm feelings in your body. A little fall special treat. Maybe I'll dial that up this weekend. That's not a bad idea. Well, whether it's work or school or other activities, your fall routines are in full swing and your schedule is getting busier. But that's okay, because Freshly is here to help you begin that new routine better. Save yourself the time and effort and let Freshly take care of your weekly meal prep with satisfying dishes delivered straight to your door. Get started today and you'll get $140 off your first 5 orders. That's a lot of money! That's over a month of nutritiously proportioned meals, all without the shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleanup. Skip the grocery shopping and dirty dishes without relying on frozen dinners or takeout. Freshly's pre-cooked meals arrive fresh every week, and there's always something new to try. So now you can try Freshly for yourself and lock in huge savings across your first 5 orders. Revamp your routine this fall with Freshly and save now for a limited time. Order today and get $140 off your first 5 orders at freshly.com/birds. That's freshly.com/birds for $140 off your first 5 orders. Freshly.com/birds for $140 off your first 5 orders. You know what they say. Fall is chaos in your pants. You're overheating 1 second and freezing the next. To be ready for anything, you need underwear that can handle everything. It's time for Tommy John underwear. In Tommy John underwear, you are that much more comfortable, so you can do everything better. Name a problem with other underwear, and Tommy John's has solved it. Tommy John's breathable, lightweight fabric has 4 times the stretch of competing brands. They come with a no wedgie guarantee, thanks to a non-rolling waistband and legs that never ride up. Plus, they feature a horizontal quick draw fly. Hammock pouch support stops the awkward swing and slap, giving everyone something to be grateful for. With over 18 million pairs sold, people love Tommy John underwear. That's why Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics, and I am one of those. As I have said before, as I will say again, the Tommy John's underwear, the ace in my rotation. So, and, by the way, everything is backed with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. So, this is a win-win situation. No lose. So go to TommyJohn.com/athletic right now for 20% off your first order. 20% off at TommyJohn.com/athletic. TommyJohn.com/athletic. See site for details. All right, welcome back to Birds with Friends, Bo and Zach. Zach, fresh off the loss, how much does this change your 10,000-foot view of the 2022 Eagles?
Not the least bit. I didn't think they were going 17-0. I didn't know when the losses were going to come, but a little sooner than I thought. I expected them to beat Washington. But no, I still think they're a really good team. I still think they're the class of the NFC. And I thought, I said this on the pod, I wrote this, in the second half of the schedule, I didn't think the turnover pace was sustainable. I didn't think and I asked Jason Kelsey this after the game, and he said, yeah, they're not going to be +3 every game. Like, they know that. But he said, but they can't turn over the ball like that. And
I laugh when people say that there's luck involved. Ha, 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 ha.
And Bo is, of course, referring to Jonathan Gannon. When I asked Jonathan Gannon.
And Nick Sirianni. Sirianni said it too.
Yes.
They said the same thing.
Yes. No,
that's hilarious that you could possibly suggest that there's luck involved. The one who used
the term laugh.
I think Sirianni said something very similar.
Sirianni said people say this, but there's no luck involved. Okay, he said, but there's no luck. Then he went on to talk about all that they preach. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying turnovers are luck, but I think that there was going to be a regression, perhaps not to the mean, but a regression from what I felt to be an unsustainable pace.
And I actually thought, this is one game. This may still happen. I am expecting more regression in their takeaways.
That's what I was. So I was about to say that.
Yeah.
And this is what I wrote. If you want, like, one thing, well, there's a few things that concern me about the defense. But what happens to this defense when you're not getting the takeaways at the rate that they're getting now? Like, we criticized the way the defense played tonight, and that was still with 2 critical takeaways. If they don't have those takeaways, this looks even worse. And even Jonathan Gannon said turnovers come in bunches, takeaways come in bunches. They're still in this stretch of bunches, right? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's had 5 consecutive games with an interception.
That's insane.
At some point, this does. Now, I as an aside, I would think that, like, a safety getting 5 consecutive games with an interception would stand out as, like, history.
Right.
It's like the first time it's happened since Kurt Coleman.
So, really?
Yeah. Kurt Coleman and one other player not too long ago.
Wow.
So, in any event,
his play tonight was a nice play. That was not one that was like tipped by somebody else, or it was like he made the nice read. He went up and got it. It was really nice play.
So I did see a point when they couldn't rely on the turnover differential. And they do need to get sharper across the board. But, like, I had a chance to watch football this weekend. The Eagles haven't played on Sundays in a while. So I've had a chance to watch football more recently than I typically get to do. And the Eagles are better than most of these teams. Like, I mean, there are maybe 3 to 5 teams in the league that are even in the Eagles category. So no, big picture, this doesn't change the way I view it. That said, home field is so critical.
That's where I'm going to go.
And a first round bye is so critical. And the way the playoff structure changed last year was obviously there's only 1 team that gets a bye now, not 2. And having that bye is such an advantage. So they need to finish first to have, like, the best odds of making the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's why it does change things for me, not in terms of, like, how good I think they are, because I still think they are the best team in the NFC. But in terms of the path, like, the stakes of the season have changed. And so after Minnesota goes and gets that win in Buffalo, they're tied at 7. Now the Eagles will have the tiebreaker head to head because they beat them, but it's like the margin for error is now much smaller because they have a loss, because the Vikings are unexpectedly also 8-1, and the Cowboys got a loss, which is good for them. The Cowboys and Vikings play next week, so we'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect that they're going to now reel off another 8 straight wins and finish the season 16-1. And if there's a big difference between the 2 seed and the 1 seed, or, you know, God forbid, the 5 seed if the Cowboys catch them, right? So it's kind of nice that the Eagles can now sort of like flip the switch from like the dreams of, like, you know, undefeated. Not that it's like you want to get that stuff out of the way, but they can be a little bit more clear-eyed now about moving forward, what the real goal is, which is to get the number 1 seed, and to do what it takes to get that, and not like have this. I don't really buy into like the burden of, you know, you wanted the loss. The loss is a good thing. AJ Brown sort of said that in the locker room after the game. It's kind of nice that they don't have to talk about that now, but I think it is like the honeymoon is over now, and you can look at things with a sober view of what is actually going on. And what is actually going on is they have an elite offense, which is what matters the most. That is what makes them one of the best teams in the league. They have an opportunistic defense, but it is a flawed defense that in the playoff, like that's part of why you need home field advantage and why you only want to have to win 2 games. Because I'm sorry, if Taylor Heineke can pick you apart, then, you know, God forbid, Tom Brady comes in here, or, you know, Dak Prescott comes in here, or Daniel Jones comes in here, your boy.
Well, I don't know how Daniel Jones is my boy, but
Well, he plays for a classy organization.
I do think what tonight's evidence of is you can't just show up, right? Like, it's the cliche that teams in the NFL are too good, right? But we kept talking, well, this is a soft schedule, and when's this loss going to come? You can't just show up and take a win for granted. They lost to Taylor Heineke tonight. It was fine, but not good, right? And
it's the meanest thing you've ever said.
And the reality is that there are losses on this schedule if they don't bring it. And the margin for error when there's only one team that gets a bye is it's a thin margin, right? You can lose another game or 2, but you can't lose another game or 3. I mean, you can't lose. I don't think 13-4 gets you a bye.
I think that's probably right.
So you're looking at here, you need to be, 14 wins probably, especially with how many bad teams there are in the NFC. The margin for error is thin, and you can't just show up against Indianapolis next week, and you can't just show up against, Aaron Rodgers is going to give you, he's going to test you. And I can go on down the list. The Giants,
like in a really annoying way. Like
you talked about how division games can be tough. Seeing the second, seeing a team twice, that's going to test you. Even the Bears, like, they're going to put strain on you here, right? Point being that the Eagles need to show up each week, and I know Sirianni preaches it, but I think tonight is evidence of it.
All right, you ready for Swooper?
Yeah, let's do it.
I believe Marissa has a graphic.
She's the best. We missed her the other day.
We sure did. This was a heavy action week of Swooper. Why don't we start with you, Zach? Devontae Smith leads the Eagles in receiving yards. Now, not receptions, receiving yards. This did not hit for you. Carson Wentz makes the trip to Philadelphia and is in the stadium for the game. That did hit. You had some inside information. Good job by you. 1. An Eagles player who did not have a reception against the Commanders in Week 3 has a reception in this game. I believe you hit this with 2 guys, right? Jack Stoll and Zach Pascal? Or was it just one of them?
I think Gainwell too.
Gainwell too. Well,
either
way, you hit it. That makes it 2. And then you had There are more total accepted penalty yards from scrimmage on both teams when the Eagles have the ball than when the Commanders have the ball. Now, I have two questions for you on this front. Would you consider the penalties on punts, like they're roughing the punter from scrimmage? Because it is.
Washington has possession of the ball.
Okay.
They're giving up possession, but they have possession.
Okay. I think that I agree with you.
They retain possession.
It's a play from scrimmage.
Yeah, and the penalty allows them to retain possession. And if they tucked the ball and ran, it would count as yards from scrimmage.
Okay. Now I agree with you, and it would have been very close. I think it would have been tied until the last play of the game the play that decided the game, the ticky tack, unnecessary roughness on Brandon Graham. That gave the edge to the penalty yards when the Commanders had the ball. And so this did not hit for you, unfortunately. So 2 for you. Marissa, an Eagles touchdown scorer's jersey number is divisible by the number of turkeys for which this item sells, which was 3. Devontae Smith scores a touchdown. 6, divisible by 3, of course. Nice job for Marissa. She gets 1. The Commanders score more points than the 8 points they did in week 3. She paid 11 turkeys for that bad boy, the highest priced item of the week, and it paid off for her. That's 2. An Eagles off-ball linebacker has at least a half sack or an interception. Unfortunately, that did not hit. And then the Commanders do not score on a field goal. That didn't hit either. So Marissa and Zach nodded up at 2. And then you got Bo. Casey Toohill plays more defensive snaps than Robert Quinn. According to, now, are we going by True Media or by the official game book?
Official game book tomorrow.
Okay, we will find out on the official game book, but on True Media, Robert Quinn, 22 snaps, only 27.2% of the snaps. Casey Toohill played 44% of the snaps, but it was 21 snaps, 1 fewer snap. We'll see if there's an adjustment in the official game book, but that's what we've got right now. A tough loss for me. Javon Hargrave has at least a half a sack. Bang, bingo, bango, bongo. There is a 21-yard gain on a play from scrimmage, including negated plays. The included negated plays comes up very big here. The offensive pass interference penalty on the Washington Commanders, that was a 21-yard gain to Terry McLaurin. This one hits for your boy, giving me 2. And then Terry McLaurin has more receiving yards than Devontae Smith. Only 6 turkeys for this one. Here we go. Another win for Bo. Extends the lead. What a night. Everybody, even the Eagles fans, can go home happy knowing that I've secured another victory.
I bet they're thrilled.
I bet they are. That reminds me. What's going on? When are we going to see Robert Quinn do something? When is he going to be part of the defense? He barely plays.
I need to go back and watch it tomorrow, honestly. But yeah, he didn't do much getting to the quarterback.
My guy, Bo Quinn.
And Heineke had 29 dropbacks tonight. So yeah, I have to go back and look at it, honestly. But didn't jump out watching him.
He hasn't jumped out doing anything through 3 games. 3 games, tough situation, thrown in the middle of the season. No bye, but
weird. They barely played him. But yeah.
Yeah, they barely played him in this game too. I don't know. You think the Eagles would have won this game if they had Casey Toohill?
No.
I don't know.
I do. They won't know.
You don't. You know that for certain.
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like there's the margins were so thin.
Yeah, I don't think Casey Toohill would have made a difference.
You're just trying to get out of here.
Can you blame me?
Yeah, you're done writing.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Short week here. Colts have Matt Ryan back in there.
Makes them better. It's pretty funny, and maybe we'll try to talk to Zach Kiefer this week. But it is pretty funny that like Frank Reich was forced to bench Matt Ryan, but then Jeff Saturday can come in and make him the starter.
Yeah,
doesn't seem fair.
I don't get what's going on there, but Jonathan Taylor showed some juice. That's going to be a huge matchup this week. As we alluded to, Avonte Maddox went on IR. That's notable because he's going to miss a few weeks now. And the Eagles are going to have to get by with Josiah Scott.
Who I thought played fine tonight.
He did, yes, I agree. I had a nice conversation with Josiah on Saturday. So, interesting guy.
Always liked a Josiah Scott.
Yep. And overall big picture here, I wouldn't be concerned, but like I said, that margin for error gets thinner and the Eagles can't just show up and expect to win.
Margin for error is like my hair.
You have nice hair.
Keeps getting thinner.
Yeah, you have nice hair.
As nice as yours.
We don't need to discuss hair here.
I like my hair. I don't like the bald spot on the top of my head, but
anything else on your
end?
end?
I lean back from this angle. It's not so bad.
Anything else on your end?
Anything else on my end? What could we talk about?
We are allowed to wrap it up if you want.
Okay. Do you want to get into the long underwear conversation?
I don't know what there is to get into.
I don't know. I've never sat next to a reporter who showed up for an inside game in long underwear.
You have. I've done it in the past. I've done it in the past. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I was on the field before the game.
Flex.
And so yeah, I wore long underwear. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't even think that's worthy of podcast discussion. But yeah, it keeps you warm when you're on the field. That way I don't have to wear a coat over. It's hard to wear a coat over a sport jacket because you can't just wear like your normal coat. You have to wear like a coat that's longer, and it becomes a whole thing. So it's just easier to
I'm just curious if the guy who looks down upon men who use women's deodorant feels some kind of way about having to stoop to long underwear to play in the elements.
It's not
be a football guy, you know.
It's not stooping. There was no stooping there. It was just, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Look, I don't know why this is a conversation at 3:07 a.m. But it kept me warm when I was on the field. Bottom line.
Okay.
You know, look, what's Deion Sanders' line? Look good, play good, pay good, right?
But what is the long underwear is not a look good thing. That's an undergarment.
I was sorry. That was a bad analogy then.
Okay. All right. Well, the Eagles lose for the first time since January. They are 8-1. I had one more thing I did have one more thing I wanted to talk about. A complaint, not a full grouse, but a note. Mm-hmm. I noticed this when we go down to Landover as well. There's no contingent of a team's media that reacts to the game in a more unprofessional manner as a group than the Commanders do from a no cheering in the press box standpoint. Now, I can be unprofessional in the press box myself, laughing at silly plays, which I did a couple times tonight. Mm-hmm. But like the cheering for a touchdown, very odd.
Yeah, honestly, I have enough to worry about in terms of making sure my work is up to standard, that I'm not focused on others in there.
Did you notice any of this, or is this in my own head?
You can't not notice it. You bring it up. You brought it up. I have friends on in that media corps. They're nice people. I have no issue there.
Also, a very big media contingent. So maybe that's really the issue, is that when you get that many people, there are always going to be a few.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that many show up to Houston, right? Like Washington, Houston games. It's an easy drive, as you well know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
An awful drive, though.
It's really not. You always say that. It's not an awful drive at all.
Terrible drive.
You're just on 95. It's a fine drive.
It always takes way longer than it should.
I've done that dozens upon dozens, over 100 times. I used to live in Washington, and I would go back and forth. It's fine. Especially on Sundays, it's usually fine. So
debatable.
Okay. It's a Monday today, though. It's actually a Tuesday now.
Sure is. It sure.
Make sure you check out those power rankings that come out tomorrow. That's a must read every Tuesday. Looking forward to that. I have a.
Just read the AJ Brown interview. That's really all I care about.
That's no longer a secret. We'll have the post game coverage, and then, like we said, it's a short week. We'll have stories for you throughout the week. So looking forward to to getting back at it. You won't hear anything from the team tomorrow, but you'll hear from them Wednesday. You'll have Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the locker room. Much to discuss on Wednesday, and we will be back perhaps with a Colts writer later in the week.
Would you ever wear a leather jacket?
When I've never thought about it. It's not my style.
Saw a guy in the press box today in a leather jacket. I don't think I'd feel comfortable trying to pull it off.
Yeah, it's not my style. But look, as Jalen Hurts said,
Just going through my notebook, I wrote down leather jacket.
As Jalen Hurts said on Jason Kelsey's podcast, it's the clothes that make the man, right? So if you think you can pull it off, I don't believe I can pull it off.
It always makes me think of Chris Berman. You're with me, leather.
I suppose so.
Okay. All right, that'll do it for Birds with Friends post-game edition. 3:11 in the morning. 3:11. You're like the band 3:11.
You have a gift for prolonging these.
Some might call it a gift. Yeah.
I'll say you are a showman. We were walking into this press box or into this room, and you were grumpy.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it.
You didn't have the energy. You kind of had like this grumpiness to you. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, man, I'm going to have to carry this thing. And then all of a sudden that light comes on and the host comes out, right? So
I mean, I'm not so sure that this is like the most ebullient performance of my life.
Yeah, you're that's what they call it. That's what they call them in basketball, red light players. You're a red light player, even though it's a green light on your screen.
Good question in the chat. Am I more of a showman or a takesman?
You're more of a showman than a takesman.
Okay. All right. That'll do it. Thanks, everybody. The 6 of you who are sicko enough to be watching the show at the moment live. And for those of you who are more intelligent and listening to it on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever. We'll be back later this week. Probably a 1-show week, I would guess. Squeeze 2 into 1. Make it a nice beefy long episode as we try to see how the Eagles react and respond to their first loss of the season. So for Zach and Marissa and Casey Toohill, not my son, we thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. And as always, we love you.